And then the fact of who was his target. Even before the Rutgers basketball team had their press conference, people were outraged over the fact that these were college students who were just gratuitously slammed by this comment. So that's what made it a big story, I think, initially. And then as more attention was paid, it became pretty clear that Imus had this long history of racist, sexist attempts at humor. And I think the landscape has changed. I think that we're in a different place in this country than we were 10 or 15 years ago when you talk about the way we look at people who are of different races or the way we look at the sexes. And I think the show has become an anachronism, frankly.
The debate, the outrage resulting from the remarks have, in essence, become the largest national dialogue about race in America since the one we all thought we were going to have after Hurricane Katrina and really did not. If the devastation of that entire largely African-American city did not spark that dialogue, did not necessarily improve this situation, why should we think that the uproar over these 5 syllables will create that dialogue?
Well, I never thought that we'd get that dialogue after Katrina, frankly. I mean, I thought television did a great job in covering Katrina and the flooding and that sort of thing, and it was one of TV's prouder moments. But I did think that once the people who were suffering were off camera, that issue would pretty much die down in terms of the national conversation. This might be different. I mean, in a weird sense, the fact that Imus is so famous and that we're talking here about entertainment, which is always a much bigger issue in this country than public policy issues usually, I think that it may hold people's attention, and this may be a story that has legs. I hope so, because I think that the more attention that is paid, the more people will realize how egregious some of the things are that are occurring in this society under the rubric of entertainment.
Is this different because of the guests as much as of the host, because of the tendrils that go out from his program? It's not necessarily not a presidents on that show, but journalists, politicians, members of government who once validated him by appearing there. Do they now have to make good sort of retroactively for having enabled this program to go on as long as it did?
Well, I don't know if they have to make good, but I do think that the stature of his guests is one of the major reasons the story has gained such prominence. So, and I think now that Imus is so toxic, that people will be giving much more thought to appearing in venues where these kinds of comments. I mean, I'm reluctant to call it humor because I don't see anything funny, for example, about nappy-headed hose. I mean, it's supposed to be a joke. I don't get what the punchline is. So I think that it'll be difficult for someone who is outrageous in that sense to get respectable guests on their radio or television show. But what I do think might happen is that I think that the public, and I put this in the column today, I think that the public has been ahead of the politicians and the people who have been defending Imus on this issue. I think the broader public does not like this kind of stuff, whether it's on Imus, whether it's in the hip-hop culture, or wherever. I think that there's been overkill here, and people are tired of it and reacting against it. And that's frankly why the sponsors have been pulling the plug on the show. If there was plenty of money still to be made, and this was just the flap that was going to go away, and the public wasn't really outraged, I don't think you would have seen the sponsors heading for the exits the way they have been.
Nothing like voting with your wallet. Bob Herbert, the op-ed columnist of the New York Times, great thanks for your perspective.
Chief, thank you very much.
What is next for the man himself in the middle of all this? Don Imus has bounced back from personal problems decades ago that would have knocked over an entire forest. What happens to him now? And the other headline of the day, a brazen attack in Baghdad, deep inside the fortified Green Zone, inside the Iraqi parliament. And yet some say security is still improving there. You are watching Countdown on MSNBC.